as Premier League flexes financial muscle. And rescue efforts continue after Afghan quake kills 800. Australia moves to crack down on deepfake nudes online stalking. Other stories trending on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. Nigerian embassies hit by unpaid rent salary arrears. Nigerian embassies hit by unpaid rent salary arrears. $600 million monthly diaspora remittance proof of reforms. FG. $600 million monthly diaspora remittance proof of reforms. FG. Oyetola blames wooden boats as accidents claim 92 lives. 2027 PDP obedience tackle Wike over Jonathan Obi. 2027 PDP obedience tackle Wike over Jonathan Obi. Strike threat, resident doctors give FG 10 days ultimatum. Now, those are the stories trending on the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning. And of course, remember, the studio line is open for your reactions and engagement, contributions. If you find any of those stories, especially for sporting fans, from Oseni to Oshola, how Nigerian players fared in transfer window, and of course, the story about Oshola arriving Saudi Arabia for Al Hilal Medicals. She has now moved to the Saudi League. And of course, other major stories making the rounds as far as the Punch newspaper is concerned. The number to call 0808-312-8618, and you can be part of the conversation. From the Punch, we go to the Vanguard newspaper, and the Vanguard leads with this gaping headline: Jonathan to Keyamo Odikalu. Jonathan to Keyamo Odikalu, keep off my political journey. Your screwed, unsolicited legal view is not of any concern in his bucket list, and it will never be. Don't waste your precious time dwelling on this. And that's the reaction from former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan to the likes of Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo and Odikalu, who have suggested that the former president should not think of running again in 2027. Well, moving ahead to other developments on the front page of the Vanguard: power-hungry politicians seeking to remove Tinubu presidency. Ethnicity, religion destroying our democracy. Shehu Sani. Other stories trending on the Vanguard this morning. Apapa Customs collect 215 billion naira on B. Odogu in August. Digivant MFB takes financial inclusion drive to traders in Lagos. Cost of funds cut banks' borrowing by 12% to 69 trillion naira. Ekpa's conviction, historic lesson against misguided preaching. IPOB lawyer. Interesting. And just to remind you, we will be looking at the Finnish conviction of Ekpa as our conversation on the arena at the top of the hour. So it is one of those developing stories, or late breaking stories, broke yesterday evening, and it's still making the rounds, still trending this morning. Of course, a Finnish court had found him guilty of terrorism and jailed him for 6 years. And we hear that the Nigerian government is thinking of repatriating him. Ekpa's conviction, historic lesson against misguided preaching. IPOB lawyer. Jonathan Tokeyamo Odikalu, keep off my political journey. And of course, other stories making the rounds on the Vanguard. Why Wike is yet to face sanction. PDP. Africa needs committed leaders. Obasanjo, if you listen to the abridged version of the arena yesterday, of course, that was the opening conversation yesterday, the interview where former President Olusegun Obasanjo did say that a lot of leaders should be behind bars, should be in the gallows, and he talked about the giving young people across the country and across the continent, their place of relevance, their place of pride, and then he did also emphasize on the fact that Nigeria needs to step forward and take responsibility on the continent, within the region, and for every black man across the world. Big conversation. We'll take time before the week runs out to look at Mr. President's former President Olusegun Obasanjo's reaction, and then of course it will be a subject of conversation on the arena. But today we are looking at the developing story of Samuel Ekpa. All right. 44th Olubadan Coronations Committee unveils week-long event. El Rufai doesn't understand what democracy is about. Shehu Sani. Tinubu must sack underperforming ministers. Nataro. Tinubu must sack underperforming ministers. Nataro. Those are the stories making the rounds on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Very interesting conversations on the Vanguard, and if any of those stories do tickle your fancy, you should grab yourself a copy of the Vanguard. From the Vanguard, we go to the Nation newspaper, and the Nation leads with this headline: Obi's return to run in 2027 will kill PDP, says Wike. Of course, that's another conversation that we must look at probably tomorrow, especially with the reactions of the obedience and all to the FCT minister and former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike's comment that Obi's return to the PDP will destroy the People's Democratic Party. Well, let's look at other stories making the rounds on the Nation this morning. Federal government hails 6-year jail for Ekpa in Finland. Federal government hails 6-year jail term for Simon Ekpa in Finland. Tinubu reaffirms oath to serve fairly. President celebrates loyal deputy Shetima at 59. Abuja-Kaduna rail tracks will be restored in 10 days, says Minister. Government to empower 7 million youths with digital literacy. NSA, Kaduna government knock El Rufai over payments to bandit claim. Nigeria-Colombia target aviation trade deals. Those are the stories trending on the front page of the Nation newspaper this morning. If any of those stories do tickle your fancy, then you should grab yourself a copy of the Nation. Yeah, you should grab yourself a copy of the Nation. All right, from the Nation we go to Daily Trust. The Daily Trust leads with this headline: suspected gun runners nabbed in Katsina. More local governments sign peace deal with bandits. The police command in Katsina has intercepted 2 suspected gun runners with general purpose machine gun, what we call GPM or GPMG, 1,063 rounds of 7.62 millimeters and 39 millimeters AK-47 ammunition and more. I mean, you need to see the front page of the Daily Trust to see the pictures of what that headline. I mean, SMGs, 7 millimeter and 39 millimeters. I mean, these are arsenals that shouldn't be in the hands of not just anybody, you know. Over 800 killed, villages leveled and flattened in Afghanistan earthquake. Terrorism, Ekpa jailed. Kanu's case drags. Other stories making the rounds as far as the Daily Trust is concerned. States critical in unlocking MSME's growth. Experts. Manufacturing of electric cars, the necessity of nascent driven modern technology. Julius Berger wins Excellence Award. Experts push integrated mapping to tackle slum challenges in Lagos, Kano. And firm hands over 200 housing units in 1 year. Firm hands over 200 housing units in 1 year. Other stories making the rounds on the Daily Trust that might tickle your fancy. Motorists react as CNG price hits 380 naira per cubic meter. Yeah. Eliminate insecurity, not voices of opposition. El Rufai hits back at Ribadu, Ubasani. Malami's convoy attacked in Kebbi. We won't allow you to plunge our state into violence. Kaduna state government warns El Rufai. And of course, a whole lot more on the Daily Trust. So if any of those stories they tickle your fancy, then you should grab a copy of the Daily Trust. Don't forget, the phone lines are still open for your contributions, reactions, and comments on any of the headlines from any of the major dailies that we've taken so far: The Punch, The Vanguard, The Nation, and of course now on the Daily Trust. And from the Daily Trust, we move to the Guardian newspaper. We move to the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian leads with this headline: No mistakes, regrets in choosing you, Tinubu tells Shetima at 59. No mistake, regrets in choosing you, Tinubu tells Shetima. I don't know. Does that sound like Mr. President is patronizing his vice president, considering all the brouhaha with regards to dropping him in the build-up to 2027, and of course the reaction of the North? Could Mr. President be playing political chess game with the North with regards to his vice president Kashim Shettima? How integrity, character stopped Wike from eyeing 2027 presidential bid. How integrity, character stopped Wike from eyeing 2027 presidential bid. That's on The Guardian. So if you're interested in getting the meat of that story, then you should grab yourself a copy of The Guardian newspaper this morning. Local carriers struggle as foreign airlines rake in $1.7 billion from Nigerian market. FG urges traditional medicine practitioners to standardize products. 2027 presidency, Yoruba Ronu orders false call on Jonathan to contest. Interesting. CSOs lament state defiance of Supreme Court ruling on local government allocations. CSOs, civil society organizations, lament state's defiance of Supreme Court ruling on local government allocation. Gas to methanol projects key. Gas to methanol projects key to prosperity. Those are the stories trending on the Guardian newspaper this morning. And if any of those stories do tickle your fancy, then you should get yourself a copy of the Guardian newspaper. On this day, this morning, it leads with this headline: Tinubu, no Nigerian is second-class citizen, reiterates every region being carried along in his government. No Nigerian is second-class citizen, reiterates every region being carried along in his government. Court, Jonathan can run for presidential election. Court, Jonathan can run for presidential election. Nigeria hails Finland's conviction of Simon Ekpa on terrorism-related crimes. And other stories trending on this day. Tinubu assures Colombia of prompt implementation of all bilateral agreements. Tinubu assures Colombia of prompt implementation of all bilateral agreements. Kekere Ekun reassures on speedy dispensation of financial crime cases. 21,971 admission seekers jostle for 13,000 spaces at Uni Ilorin. Keyamo, PDP in legal risk fielding Jonathan in 2027. El Rufai, Tinubu will come third in presidential election. All this and more on the This Day newspaper. So if any of these stories tickle your fancy, then you should grab yourself a copy of the This Day newspaper. And just before we jump off, let's see what's trending on Daily Post online. And Daily Post leads with this headline: concerns over Nigeria's government delayed payment of contractors. There have been concerns over the delayed payment of contractors by the Nigerian government. This was amplified recently, and that is the leading story on Daily Post online. Other stories making the round: controversy trails Governor Makinde's 300 billion naira loan. Controversy trails Governor Makinde's 300 billion naira loan. Transfer deadline: details of Nigerian players' summer moves to European clubs. Wike holds closed-door meeting with PDP Secretary Anyanwu, orders in Abuja. I will deduct 1 million from Tinubu's total votes in 2027, Marafa. So, those are the stories trending on the Daily Post online this morning, and let's check out what is trending on the cable. Let's see the cable this morning. Interesting. The cable leads with a sports story. Boniface, Chukwueze, Uche make deadline day moves as Isaac completes EPL record £125 million transfer. Yep, and that's on the cable this morning. Other stories trending on the cable: Tinubu assures of quick implementation as Nigeria, Colombia sign MOUs to deepen bilateral ties. Suspected thugs attacked Melamese convoy in Kebbi. And then a little bit of sports again. Athlete Favor Ofili finally switches allegiance to Turkey. Okay, so those are the stories making the rounds. Don't forget, at the top of the hour, in just a few seconds, it will be the arena. So pardon us as we take a quick breather, pay some bills, and when we come back, the gates of the arena will be swung open and you will get the opportunity to be part of the conversation. Don't forget, we're discussing Samuel Ekpa's conviction in a Finnish court where he has been jailed 6 years for terrorism-related activities. And, of course, we hear that the Nigerian government is interested in repatriating him back to Nigeria, after having been convicted by a Finnish court for terrorism-related matters. All that and more in just a moment on